Welcome back, everybody. It's me, Basil Morwood, and yeah, we're back to another game review of mine, or uh, recap, if you will, of a game I played in a tournament this last weekend. It's the Midstream Open Chess tournament that was on the 20th of July. It was 5 rounds a day. The time, if you will, but each player had on the clock was 55 minutes and 5 seconds increment. I was in the B section, which is up to roughly 1500, so 1400 to 1500 roughly, CSR rating. And so this is round 2. I'm playing black. And yes, my opponent is Nell and Andreas Nell. Andre Nell, I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce his name, but he was rated 1316. I'm actually going to rotate the board, and I did something a little bit different for this game than I normally do. So for once in a while, I did what you hear grandmasters and international masters say in some videos and in books. And the guy at my club tonight told me, hey, listen, when you actually analyze your game, don't run it through the computer immediately. Analyze the game yourself first, and then run it through the computer afterwards. And it's what I actually did for this game first. So I'm going to share with you both what I played and what my analysis that I came up with showed. And also tell you where opening VA more or less ends for me and where opening VA completely ends. So d4, d5, c4, Queen's Gambit. I play e6 for Queen's Gambit decline. Sometimes I go into a semi-slot position depending on move order, and that's exactly what happened in this game as my opponent played knight c3. I only play c6 after knight c3 or knight f3. So c6, c played knight f3, and this allows me to go for a variation called the Ne2 variation, which is why I take his pawn. I don't really care if he gets a full center because I'm a pawn up and I'm playing on the queen side in this opening. So he plays e4, I play b4, b5, sorry. Just protecting my pawn. He can't capture the pawn because it's protected by my c6 the theory more or less should be a4 right here, and that's when you play bishop to b4, pinning the knight to the king. But he plays a3, and I'm out of my own prep. I'm just going off what I remember more or less. And my mind was, I'm going to play knight f6. He's probably going to play e5 at some point, but I'm going to play knight to d5. He can take, and then he fixes my pawn structure for me, and I'm happy. So I play knight to f6, and he pins me. And I don't really like this. Now, I played bishop to e7. Idea is that I can move. I don't really want to be hit with. At this point, I just wanted to develop pieces. I'm on a castle. I don't really want to play h6. Because frankly, there is something here that I think can be played if I play h6, and it's to play something like this. Now, the computer thinks white is better here, but I'm not sure about that positionally wise, maybe, but the computer wants this, for example, but I don't really look at this in my own analysis. I thought that this was fine. Computer agrees. White played e5, I played d5. He took on e7 with his bishop. I took back with my queen. Yeah, I'm happy with that. And now he plays a4. And this is the very first part where, in my own analysis, looking through it, some interesting stuff came up. So, in my own opinion, Queen B4 is the move I played. Queen B4. And the idea is simple. It's to pin his knight to his king. But it sort of forces him into a specific line which we did take in the game. But I'm actually going to say something when I looked at in my own analysis. And it does look interesting. And it's this, B4. Now, the computer says it's bad for black. And yeah, we'll both discover why. The reason I thought this wasn't too bad was he can't really take, because if he takes, he loses his knight. If he takes, I am very happy. My other opinion was on this move was if he played something like B1. Computer thinks A6 is a move, but I just thought the simple C3 is a move. Same with E2, actually. E2, I can just castle, which the computer agrees with. But one move I wasn't certain of if it's good or not was E4, and this is exactly why the computer thinks it's bad. I looked at it and wasn't sure. I decided I'll play C3. If he takes, I just take back, but the computer thinks taking with the knight is more important. And then knight takes, and B takes, and then it's slightly better for white, but it's equal. But my mind went, he takes, I take with my pawn. He gives me a check on g6, and this is why the computer thinks it's worse for white, worse for black. And then I just play d7. I thought this was more or less fine, not optimal, but it's better than nothing. You've got this passed pawn, but the computer obviously thinks it's better. So that's good to know. So you see that I had something wrong, and I actually learned something. So this was definitely wrong. A computer prefers at this point rather that d7 as an example is better. I'm not entirely sure why though, because a takes, this happens, he could just take. But the idea is you play b4 at this point, c3, and you just either, yeah, I understand now, yeah. I completely missed this idea where take, he has to take, you take. If queen blocks, you win the rook. If knight blocks, you win the pawn on d4. Okay. So that's why it doesn't work. Okay. So just developing a piece is fine. d7. a6 didn't look okay to me, honestly, because why would I... Like, I saw this idea that this could work. And if you did take, you'd have this, so it works well. Actually, doesn't this work? And you'd still go for this, okay. So the actual move here is to play this. Knight takes on c3, b takes on c3, and then c takes on b5. This is the actual move. Seems a bit weird of the pawn structure to me, but okay. And the last move, actually, that the computer blesses here, after a4, is just a castle. To ignore all of that and just say, I'm going to castle, you can take, which is fine. I'm going to play this, and again, this does not work because b4 and you just basically lose 2 pawns. So after this, he's forced to play d-takes on. Well, this is sort of a forced line for him, because if he does not play this, and this is where I saw this idea, if he played anything else, this idea would happen. I could perhaps even take, but this idea happens. So, in my opinion, this is an excellent move to play. There's not really a lot of things I could do. I did look at a6 here for a moment, because a6 did look like an idea. Computer doesn't think a6 is one of the top lines, but the reason I looked at a6 was simply that if he did take, he'd have this position, which is fine. The computer thinks it's good for black. And if he did take like this, you'd first take the queen, and you'd have this position, which is an interesting structure. But the point is, he can't take. And this is just simply overwhelmingly good for black. But okay, so I castled, decided I want to get my king safe, and then I'll continue with development. He took my knight, I took his queen. And the only move, in my opinion, only move. He took back with his knight, and here I made the mistake, in my opinion. I played c-takes on the 5. The computer actually agrees this was a mistake, and the reason being that I'm giving this up, which happened in the game. Something I did not think, because originally why I didn't mind this whole exchange was my mind was I'm undoubling my c pawns. But the computer, and I see now why this is a better move, is it takes on d5. The reason why this whole diamond shape cluster is so good is this is no longer b5 is no longer a free pawn, and if he does take, my pawn structure is fixed, and these 2 pawns are relatively weak. Also, by taking on d5 with my e pawn, my bishop, my light squared bishop, actually comes alive. It gets into the game immediately. It's activated without moving it. So just to prove a point, the computer thinks this is better. But anyway, so he got his pawn. I decide I'm going to put my bishop on the 7. I actually didn't think in the game this was equal. I was thinking, yeah, I'm fine. Part of the plan. This is going well. And I'm proud of this, because this is the only move, and actually I did look at the computer for this part as well, and this is, according to the computer, a great move. And it's knight c6. Now, what's so amazing about this move is that I'm protecting my pawn. So if he does, let's say, push his pawn to b7, I'm just winning it straight up. He can't defend his pawn. He can't take my pawn. He did take my pawn in this case, and I'm happy with the move I played, which was knight takes on d4. It's just a great move, in my opinion. Nothing more to be said, really. I took a pawn that was free. I can always take this at different time. And also, the nice thing is, I'm just threatening to win his rook with a check on his king. So he has to move his king. He can't develop his pieces, really. And he can no longer castle as well. At this point, I made, in my opinion, a mistake. And I played c6. And the reason this is a mistake is It's basically just attacking this. It's not doing much. Um, for example, my opponent played f4. It's not that good, but for white this move, but it doesn't do much. A move that would have worked very well for white in this position is b3. It's still better for black, but I'm giving up some of the advantage. A move I could have played in the game in my own analysis, because I didn't really see a move for the bishop. The computer thinks c6 is a move, or rook f2, c8, even f6, but I think this is also a move. I don't think it's as bad as it's sort of equal, but the idea was simply that I'm going to play c4 at some point. So let's say he plays f3. Now I can play c3. He has to move his knight, but yeah, the computer thinks this is equal because take, take. But I still thought this was better because he has to move his knight, but apparently he doesn't need to move it to b1 like I thought, because if he moves to b1, I just play d4. The reason why this does not work, this idea, is he can play to f4, and I can't push my pawn. I've got a very weak c pawn, so that's interesting. So I thought this was an idea. Apparently the move I should play if this happens is just to take the pawn on a7. Also, another idea in this position was I looked at post game. Besides the idea, if he played b4, for example, again the computer says this. I'm gonna assume this is just wrong. Yep, just wrong. It's better for white. Yeah, so I just made a mistake, but my opponent also made a mistake in the game. So really, it's not bad what I played. There's some stuff the computer thinks could have been better, like rook f to c8, and I'm assuming the idea is to play c3 at some point. So, for example, there's not a lot of moves for white. Let's say b3 to try and do something. Okay, you can take on b3, which is good, but I'm trying to think what he could play. Let's say he plays g3 to try and play this. Wait, what? It can't be. You're trying to tell me to play c7. I thought it was to maybe play that. z2. Okay, I'm not following the computer any longer on this line because it seems weird looking at this. Like, so to be honest, a lot of the moves that is happening right now at computer saying is, I think, would be called improving moves. But honestly, I'm not sure how it's improving moves. Like e8 is an idea, rook takes, yeah, either rook taking. At some point, x6 was an idea. So yeah, so he played f4 after I played knight to c6. I took, which I'm happy about, was good. He played g3 to flank his bishop. I moved my knight to b5 here. I was thinking it's better than c6. c6, it's not doing much, but b5, it has a few different places to look at. And rook takes, king goes to c2. Now, interestingly enough, the move I played was d4 check. It is the top one of the top 2-3 moves, so I'm happy with that. I was also happy after looking at this through my eyes. This is a good move. He played c3, and I think there could have been a better move. Admittedly, before I did this whole looking through my own eye, I think I did briefly look at through the computer, but I couldn't remember anything really. So I'm actually looking through the computer with you guys as well. So I played F5 here, which the computer thought was wrong, and after looking at the game as well, I do see what's wrong. My knight isn't really any more part of the game. I did look at other moves I could have played, and frankly, B5 has seemed better as a move. And the reason being that, let's say black when the king goes to B4 after the check, I just play A2, threatening his pawn. He can't actually defend his pawn anymore. He would have to play B3, and yeah, I just win as a knight in that scenario. So yes, simply a good, much better position for me. A different move he could have played here after the check is C2. And the idea about C2, in my opinion, is to play A2 once more. I think the computer might disagree with me, but there was an interesting concept here. So White's king can't go to either of these squares, and I've got this idea of playing C3 myself, attacking the pawn, attacking the knight, and he can't take because the king is pinned. But here's the interesting part. You see, if the king goes to one of these two squares, doesn't really matter because I'm still going to push. If he takes, I will take the pawn. I think that's a move. But the idea was, because I think this is a very logical move to play at first glance, is king to b1, and this is actually wrong. I almost want to say this would be a brilliant move to play knight c3. You can't really take my knight because then you lose your own knight. And you can't take my rook because, well, you're on check. So you'd have to move back. And that's when I play rook a1. Only move is to play king to c2. And then I play knight d1, apparently. I didn't look that far into it. I just thought this was a nice looking idea. Because he can't actually take, he has to move back. And yeah, at this point, I'm trying to see what the move is. Yeah, a4, just attacking the pawn. That was in my notes when I looked at this, a4. He can't actually keep his pawn protected. There's no way to do it. The b3, of course, he loses his bishop, and c1, I just play a1, he goes to c2, and apparently I play d1 for some reason. Not entirely sure what the idea is. I think the idea is that after something like this, you play c4. If he blocks, that's when you play c takes on b3. If knight takes on b3, rook a2 check. And if he takes, you've got another check. E1 and rook takes here. So it's just completely winning if he goes for some of those lines. So I did go through b4 and c2. I don't think there's any other real move that he could play. But yes, I of course didn't go for that. I played f5. He played g4, which was a mistake on his part as well, because then I played e3, attacking his bishop. Again, I wasn't really considering taking his bishop because I wasn't sure if it was good. I wanted to keep his pieces on the board at this point and rather see if I can get him to make a mistake. He played h3, which honestly I don't think was a great move because, yeah, I'm attacking his pawn, but I would probably rather think this is better, but the computer isn't convinced. a computer thinks E2 is better. Okay, yeah. So the computer still thought like a bishop move is better than the move he actually played, which was H3. I played D1 at this point, which I think is a fine move. He played C2, and I'm happy with the move I played, which I felt was the only move, or a good move at least. So the idea is that he has to block. Why I say he has to block? Okay, not that he has to block, but he obviously can't take. He only has 2 moves in this point if he doesn't block it. But yes, he blocks it. I take with my pawn, which apparently... Wait, I'm sorry. I first gave him a check on it with my knight. The king moved to c3, and this is when I took with my pawn. He took back with his knight, and I gave him a check with my rook. Now, in my opinion, the best move for him would have been to play b4, and I would basically trade my bishop for his knight, and I would be able to play this. Idea is simple, that if he plays bishop g2, I go again. This is computer line, by the way, because I wouldn't have necessarily gone for this, because I did see in the game that I could pin his bishop, but then he has moves his bishop protecting his rook, and it didn't feel correct to trade rooks. So maybe I would have gone for this, but I don't think I would have pinned him, because this would basically push him to play bishop to g2, activating his rook at the same time. I didn't like it. But yeah, I think b4 would have been better. I actually did think in the game this would have been better, but he didn't play that. He played b2, which allowed me to basically capitalize on the mistake, which is just this taking your piece. He played a3, king a3. I played bishop takes on b3. And now he moves his bishop. And I'm happy with the move I played as well, which was just to basically stop his rook from coming into the game. Technically, I think he could play this. But then I played b3 and win his bishop. So, yeah, ignore that for the moment. No, I didn't look at everything for white. I more or less only looked at some alternatives for some of my moves. So he played f1, bishop f1, and I played knight c2. I'm happy with it. I don't think it was a bad move. He played king a2, and I played knight e1. A lot of it was just maneuvering, trying to see. Honestly, when I was playing, I just moved my knight a lot, because I was trying to see if there's something I can capitalize on. I didn't see a win, or a straightforward win. Technically speaking, I think just pushing the pawn or trying to get my central pawns as pass pawns is the game plan. But yeah, I didn't really think about that until a little bit later. I played knight f3. In my opinion, that is a better move I could have played. Let's see if the computer agrees. But I played knight f3. I don't think this was necessarily a bad move, but I think d4 could have been a better move. And the reason being for it is, if he now goes for something like d2, I have bishop b3. It's an idea. He can't go to any of these squares, either to b2 a1. If he does that, he loses his, in my opinion, sorry, b1 or b2, because he loses his bishop. Prove what I mean is a discovered check, winning his bishop, and I would be happy. His only other moves would be to either go to a1 or a3, which would allow me to play knight c2 sec. If he played Just want to see what the other moves are that he could have played. If he played rook to b2, I would have played rook a8 check, or I could have. It would move to b1. It doesn't really matter if he goes to b1 or b3. Actually, can't go to b3. Ignore me for a moment. So he has to go to b1, only move, and that's when I play d3. He could take. He would lose his bishop in that scenario. So he would probably play d2 here, attacking my pawn, attacking my knight, bishop, and I would play c2 check. And simple idea is that, again, if he does take, he loses his rook. So not possible. Yes, pretty much has to move his king. If king goes to, let's say, b2, I actually play f3, immediately attacking his rook. The rook has to move, let's say, to f2, attacking my knight. And this is where I play rook b8 check. And yeah, I think it's better good. Some of the ideas are that, yeah, let's say it goes to c3. I again play c8. He goes to b4. Wait, ignore some of the moves that I made there, but ideas are like I could play this. Now I understand why my analysis was like that. The whole idea behind this was he has to either move away from my bishop or has to move to the bottom or top of it. So if he moves to, for example, c1, it's mate in 1 with rook to b1 checkmate. And if he goes to c3, trying to cling to my bishop, I play rook c8 check. The king has to move to b4 or b2. Doesn't matter because then I play pawn to d2. And again, like I said, the whole idea is that he can't take my bishop, he can't take my knight. He has to give us up his rook for my pawn. So this would have been a better variation, in my opinion. Would have been the best variation if he were to block with his rook. So d3, d2, and yeah, so that's more or less the line I looked at after the game. And yeah, so I think that could have worked as well. That d4 at this point would have been a good move as well. But f3 was fine. He played rook to f2. This is when I played d4. My knight is protected by my bishop, so I don't have to worry about that. The important part, I can't play d3 because, well, he just takes. So he played bishop d3 at this point. I played knight e1. I'm happy with it. You could technically, I think, play rook to f1 check, but again, it doesn't work because check, and I move my knight as well. Actually, I check him and then take his knight. So the example is he plays this, I give a check, king moves, and knight takes bishop. And I'm up 2 minor pieces. So knight e1, he played rook d2, and I play bishop b3. Same idea, but now he can take back my knight. So he takes my knight after I take his bishop on d3, and I decide just put my bishop on d5. I felt at this point that I messed up somewhere because now he's going to take my pawn. But funny enough, he didn't go for that. He played a4, which I'm not sure why he didn't play it. Because if he played, honestly, I'm not very sure I would have played, but yeah, technically I could just win back with the pawn by playing rook b3 check. He moves to a4, for example, and I take the pawn on h3, and I'm still up a pawn. But yeah, he played a4, I decide I'm going to attack his pawn on h3. The rook could still take my pawn, but then I take his. So I was feeling like, okay, let's exchange pawns. But then he decided to push the pawn, which allowed me to play rook d8, protecting my pawn. And now he started moving his king closer with the idea of trading rooks for the pawn, which admittedly I'm fine with because I'm up a piece. But funnily enough, this is another point where I think I could have played a better move. Instead of playing h6, I think h5 would have been better. The computer actually agrees with me here. And the reason h5 would have been better is, let's say he played G5 as an example. I could then play King h7, move in, try to take a gobble up pawns. And yeah, like let's say he plays f5 here as an example. I would then be able to take on f5 with my pawn. And I've got another pass pawn. It's not beautiful, but that's fine. If he played c4 at this point, I would pin him. If he played c5, I would go g6. He would take on d4 with his rook. I would take back with my rook. He would take my rook. I would play king to f5. He would have to play king to e3. I would play g4. Maybe he would try and do something, but like I'm going to win. The computer thinks it's mate in 28. So h5 would have been better than h3. So, but I played h3, he played c4. I pinned his rook to his king with f1. He played c5, and the computer thinks h5 here or h stakes on g5, which I did play, is better. No, I didn't play h stakes on g5 immediately. But the move I could have played here, but I thought was better after looking at it, because I did play it a little later, is actually rook to c8. And the reason for that is that he has to, there's only two moves for his king. There's one move is to take the pawn on d4, or go to the b file, in which case he loses his rook on d4 or d3, and I've got a pass pawn. And if he takes on d4, I skewer him and win his rook, and I've got a rook and a bishop versus a king. That should be winning easily. Not sure why the computer doesn't think this is the better way to play. And but now it thinks that after I showed it. But yeah. So I played h7 in the position because I didn't see the move at the table or the board immediately. He played h5, stopping me from coming in. I decide I'm going to take on g5. He took back on, took with f takes on g5. And this is when I saw, but wait, I could just win his rook cleanly. And this is when I played rook c8. He took, and I skewered him, and he resigned. I'm pretty happy with this game and the performance I had. I've got to say, I think I learned a lot from the analysis I did on my own. It wasn't all correct or even fully correct, but I think I'll learn a lot more from doing it this way. So on the review side, let's see what the computer thinks, how accurate I played, how accurate Nell played, and what the estimated rating was. So the computer thinks I played at 85.1% accuracy, and Nell played at 77.9% accurate. So white 77, black 85%. Estimated rating for Nell is 1,550. As for black, the estimated rating is 2,000. I'm quite happy with the performance of this game. And yeah, if you guys would do me a massive favor, subscribe to the channel, and please comment on the video if you want to see other stuff, other videos, whatever. Just comment. You can even ask me questions about the game, etc. I've also got. I'm gonna paste the PTN of the game in description of the video, as well as my account names on chess.com and Nxd6 in the description as well. It's Basil Mulwood, one word, uh, capital letter B, Basil, and then capital letter M, Mulwood, one word, on both sites. But yes, I hope everybody has a great day, and till later. Goodbye, alligators.